I've always believed that 40 years was just a number, until I became that number myself. My name is Ha-Jun, and I'm what people in our world call an anomaly. An unmated, unmarked omega at 40 years old. Virgin too, though I rarely admit that to anyone. In a society where most omegas are claimed by their early 20s, I'm a walking question mark, a puzzle people can't quite solve. I don't mind really. I've built a good life for myself, modest but honest. I work at a small bookstore in 81, helping customers find stories that might change their lives the way books changed mine. My apartment is tiny, barely bigger than a closet, but it's mine. I have plants on the windowsill that somehow survive my irregular watering schedule, and a collection of tea that would make any enthusiast envious. People say I'm kind, polite, always ready to help someone in need. Maybe that's why I'm still alone. I've spent so much time caring for others that I forgot to make space for someone to care for me. That particular November evening was cold, the kind of cold that seeps into your bones and reminds you of your solitude. I'd had a difficult day at the bookstore. A customer had berated me for 20 minutes over a book we didn't have in stock, as if I personally controlled the publishing industry. My manager had simply watched, offering no support, and I'd smiled through it all because that's what I do. I needed air. I needed to walk. The streets of Seoul at night have always soothed me. The lights, the movement, the anonymous crowds. You can be alone without being lonely. I walked without direction, letting my feet carry me through neighborhoods I barely recognized, breathing in the crisp air and trying to release the tension that had knotted itself between my shoulder blades. I didn't see the car until it was too late. One moment I was crossing a quiet intersection, lost in thought. The next, there was the screech of tires, the glare of headlights, and then, nothing. I woke to white ceiling tiles and the antiseptic smell of hospital. My body ached everywhere, a dull throb that pulsed with my heartbeat. I tried to move and immediately regretted it. Don't. The voice was deep, commanding, and came from somewhere to my left. The doctor said you need to stay still. I turned my head slowly, carefully, and found myself looking at the most beautiful alpha I'd ever seen. He was young, so young, maybe mid-20s, with sharp features that seemed carved from marble. His jaw was strong, his eyes dark and intense, and his scent, even through the hospital's sterile smell I could detect it, was overwhelming. Pine and rain and something darkly masculine that made my omega instincts sit up and take notice despite my pain. "I'm Ji-sung," he said, standing from the chair beside my bed. He was tall, I realized, and dressed in what was clearly an expensive suit, though his tie was loosened and his hair disheveled. "I'm the one who hit you. I'm so sorry." There was genuine anguish in his voice, in the way his hands clenched at his sides. It's okay," I managed, my voice hoarse. "Accidents happen." "No." He shook his head firmly. "It's not okay. I wasn't paying attention. I was on my phone dealing with work and I almost killed you. Nothing about that is okay." I studied him, this young, beautiful alpha who looked like he might break down crying at any moment. Something in my chest twisted. "But you didn't," I said softly. "I'm alive. That's what matters." He looked at me, then really looked at me, and I saw something shift in his expression. Surprise maybe. Or recognition of some kind. "What's your name?" he asked. "Ha-Jun." "Ha-Jun," he repeated like he was testing how it felt in his mouth. "The doctor said you have 3 broken ribs, a fractured wrist, and severe bruising. You'll need to stay here for at least a week." "A week?" I tried to sit up, panic flooding through me. "I can't afford my job. I'm taking care of everything." His voice was firm, brooking no argument. "Your medical bills, your lost wages, everything. It's the least I can do." "You don't have to." "I do." He met my eyes, and the intensity there took my breath away. "Please, let me do this." What choice did I have? I nodded weakly and sank back into the pillows. That was the beginning. Ji-sung visited every day. At first, I thought it was guilt, wealthy alphas soothing their consciences by throwing money at problems. But as the days passed, I began to understand it was something more. He would arrive in the evening after what I assumed were long days at work. Later, I learned he was the CEO of Hanseong Group, one of the largest corporations in Korea. At 25, he controlled a trillion-won empire and had a reputation as a ruthless, heartless businessman. The tabloids called him the Ice Prince, the Tyrant Alpha. But the man who sat beside my hospital bed, bringing me books he thought I might enjoy and asking gentle questions about my life, bore no resemblance to those descriptions. "You work at a bookstore?" he asked on the 3rd day, genuine interest in his voice. "For 15 years now," I replied, accepting the cup of expensive coffee he'd brought, not the hospital's terrible brew, but something from a cafe I couldn't afford. "It's not glamorous, but I love it." "What do you love about it?" No one had ever asked me that before. "The stories," I said slowly. Everyone who comes in is looking for something. Escape, knowledge, comfort. And sometimes I get to be the person who helps them find it. There's something meaningful in that. He smiled then, a real smile that transformed his entire face, making him look even younger than his years. That's beautiful, he said softly. You're beautiful. I felt my face heat, a blush creeping up my neck. I'm 40 years old, I reminded him, as if that explained why the compliment couldn't possibly be meant. I know. His eyes never left mine. What does that have to do with anything? Everything, I wanted to say. It has everything to do with everything. But I stayed silent, turning my attention to the coffee in my hands. On the 5th day my ribs hurt less but my heart hurt more. I'd spent so long alone that having someone's consistent attention felt like standing in sunlight after years in shadow. Beautiful but overwhelming, and I wasn't sure I could trust it. Tell me about your family, Ji-sung asked that evening. He'd brought dinner, real food, not hospital meals, and was setting it out on the tray table. There's not much to tell, I said carefully. My parents died when I was young. Car accident. I was raised by my grandmother until I was 18, then I've been on my own ever since. No siblings? No other family? No. I picked at the food, suddenly not hungry. What about you? His expression darkened. My parents died too. 5 years ago. Murder-suicide. My father killed my mother, then himself. The air left my lungs. Ji-sung, I'm so sorry. Don't be. His voice was hard now, the CO showing through. He was a monster. He abused her for years, and when she finally tried to leave, he ended it. He paused, his jaw working. I inherited everything at 20. Built it into something bigger. Something better. I swore I'd never be like him. Without thinking, I reached out with my good hand and placed it over his. You're not, I said firmly. You're nothing like that. He looked down at our hands, then turned his over so our palms met, his fingers lacing through mine. The touch sent electricity through my body. My omega instincts recognizing something my mind was too afraid to acknowledge. How do you know? He asked quietly. You barely know me. I know enough, I replied. I know you visited me every day. I know you bring me things you think will make me happy. I know you feel genuine remorse for an accident that could have happened to anyone. That's not the behavior of a monster, Ji-sung. That's the behavior of a good man. He lifted our joined hands to his lips and pressed a kiss to my knuckles. The gesture was so tender, so unexpected, that tears pricked my eyes. You're extraordinary, Ha-jun, he whispered. Do you know that? I didn't. I couldn't. But the way he looked at me made me almost believe it. I was discharged after 8 days, not 7. The doctors wanted to be cautious, and Ji-sung insisted on every possible precaution. He'd arranged for a car to take me home, a car with a driver because apparently that was normal in his world. What I didn't expect was for Ji-sung himself to accompany me. You don't need to, I started as he helped me into the back seat. I want to, he interrupted, sliding in beside me. His scent enveloped me in the confined space, making my head swim. My apartment was exactly as embarrassing as I'd feared it would be. Ji-sung, who probably lived in a penthouse, stood in my tiny studio and looked around with an unreadable expression. It's small, I said defensively, but it's clean and the rent is affordable and… It's perfect, he said, and he sounded like he meant it. It's very you. He helped me settle on my narrow bed, the only place to really sit besides the single chair by my small table. Then he set about making tea, navigating my tiny kitchenette like he'd been there before. You don't have to take care of me, I protested weakly. I know. He brought over 2 cups and sat beside me on the bed, close enough that our thighs touched. But I'm going to anyway. We drank tea in comfortable silence. Outside, Seoul hummed with evening activity, but inside my small sanctuary, everything felt still. Suspended. Ha-jun, Ji-sung said eventually, setting down his cup. Can I ask you something personal? My heart stuttered. Okay. Why haven't you made it? Someone like you, kind, beautiful, good-hearted, I don't understand why you're alone. The question I'd been dreading. Because I'm 40, I said simply. Because by the time I was stable enough to think about relationships, I was already past the age most alphas want. Because I'm an omega man, which some people find difficult. Because I trailed off, not sure how to explain the rest. Because you're what? Still a virgin, I whispered, shame coloring my cheeks. I know it's pathetic, but I never found anyone I trusted enough, and then years passed, and it became this thing I carried, and now I'm 40 and unmated and untouched and… His hand cupped my cheek, turning my face toward his. The look in his eyes was fierce. There is nothing pathetic about you, he said, each word deliberate. Nothing. Do you understand me? I couldn't speak, could barely breathe. You're not alone because you're unworthy, he continued. You're alone because no one has been worthy of you. There's a difference. Then he kissed me. It was gentle at first, a soft press of lips that asked permission rather than demanded surrender. But when I gasped, my mouth opening in surprise, he deepened the kiss, his tongue sliding against mine in a way that made my entire body ignite. I'd never been kissed before. Never felt this, the rush of heat, the desperate need, the way my omega instinct screamed at me to submit, to offer, to give this alpha everything he wanted. When he finally pulled back, we were both breathing hard. I'm sorry, he said, though he didn't look sorry. I shouldn't have. Don't apologize. My voice came out rough, unfamiliar. Please don't apologize. His thumb traced my bottom lip. I want you, Ha-Jun. I've wanted you since I saw you in that hospital bed, looking at me like I was someone worth knowing. I know it's wrong, you're 15 years older than me, you're recovering from injuries I caused, and you deserve someone better than a fucked up alpha with control issues and a terrible reputation. Ji-sung. But I can't help it, he interrupted, his voice raw. I want to court you properly. Take you on dates. Show you how good we could be together. And eventually, if you'll let me, I want to claim you. Mark you. Make you mine in every way. My heart was a drum in my chest. Everything rational in me said this was impossible. The age difference, the power imbalance, the sheer improbability of someone like him wanting someone like me. But my omega instinct sang a different song. They recognized him as perfect, as meant to be, as the alpha they'd been waiting 40 years to find. I'm scared, I admitted. I know. He pressed his forehead to mine. So am I. But let's be scared together, okay? And because I was tired of being safe, tired of being alone, tired of living half a life, I said yes. Our first official date was a disaster in the best way. Ji-sung had wanted to take me somewhere expensive and impressive, but I'd insisted on something simple. We compromised on a small restaurant in Hongdae, the kind of place where students gather and no one would recognize Korea's youngest trillionaire CEO. He showed up in jeans and a simple sweater, looking younger and more relaxed than I'd ever seen him. You look beautiful, he said, taking in my own casual outfit. Just slacks and a nice shirt, nothing special. I look ordinary, I corrected, but I was smiling. Same thing. Dinner was surprisingly easy. We talked about books. It turned out he loved mysteries, the kind with complex plots and morally gray characters. I preferred romance, which made him grin. Of course you do, he teased. You're a romantic. Says the man who's been courting me with coffee and books and daily visits. Fair point. After dinner, we walked along the Han River, watching the lights reflect off the water. It was cold, and Ji-sung kept pulling me closer under the pretense of keeping me warm. People are staring, I murmured, noticing the looks we were getting. A young, handsome alpha with an obviously older omega. Let them, Ji-sung said firmly, his arm tightening around my waist. Anyone who has a problem can take it up with me. And I believed him. I believed he would actually fight the world for me if needed. We kissed again that night, under a street light, with the river flowing beside us and the city humming around us. This kiss was different from the first. Less desperate, more certain. Like we were learning each other's rhythms, figuring out how we fit together. When we finally pulled apart, Ji-sung rested his forehead against mine. I'm falling for you, he whispered. Is that okay? Yes, I breathed. Because I'm falling for you too. Our relationship progressed slowly, carefully. Ji-sung was patient in ways I'd never expected from an alpha, especially one so young and powerful. He never pushed for more than I was ready to give, even though I could sense his desire every time we were close. We went on more dates, museums, bookstores, quiet cafes where we could talk for hours. He introduced me to his world gradually, taking me to galleries and shows but always making sure I felt comfortable. I learned about his business, about the weight of responsibility he carried. At 25, he'd already survived 3 hostile takeover attempts and had made Hanseong Group more profitable than ever. The ruthless reputation was partly real. He was demanding, uncompromising, and had no patience for incompetence. But with me he was different. Soft, open. You bring out a side of me I didn't know existed, he told me one evening as we lay on my narrow bed, fully clothed but tangled together. With everyone else I have to be the ice prince, the tyrant. But with you I can just be me. I ran my fingers through his hair, marveling at how this powerful alpha fits so perfectly in my small life. Who is me? I asked softly. Someone who's tired, he admitted. Someone who's lonely. Someone who's been waiting for the other half of his soul. My breath caught. Ji-sung. I love you. He said it simply, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. I know it's fast, I know we're still learning each other, but I love you, Ha-Jun. I've loved you since you told me it was okay, since you forgave me without hesitation, since you saw past everything I am to who I want to be. Tears slid down my cheeks. I love you too, I whispered. God help me, I do. He kissed me then, deep and claiming, his hands sliding under my shirt to touch bare skin. I gasped at the contact, my body responding in ways it never had before. I want you, he growled against my mouth. Want to touch you everywhere, taste you, make you mine. Can I? Please, Ha-jun, let me make love to you. Fear and desire warred within me. I was 40, virgin, uncertain about my body and my appeal. But I wanted this. Wanted him. Yes, I breathed. Yes. Ji-sung undressed me slowly, reverently, like I was something precious that might break. Each piece of clothing removed revealed more skin, more vulnerability, until I lay bare before him on my small bed. You're shaking, he murmured, his hand gentle on my chest. I'm nervous, I admitted. I've never. I know. He kissed me softly. We'll go slow. If anything hurts or feels wrong, you tell me immediately. Okay. I nodded, trusting him completely. He undressed himself next, and I couldn't help staring. His body was perfect, all lean muscle and smooth skin, the body of a young alpha in his prime. Compared to him, I felt inadequate, older, less desirable. Stop, he said firmly, reading my expression. Stop thinking whatever you're thinking. You're gorgeous, Ha-jun. Every part of you. He proceeded to prove it, kissing his way down my body, paying attention to every inch of skin. His mouth found places I didn't know could feel good. The inside of my wrist, the curve of my hip, the sensitive spot behind my knee. By the time his hand wrapped around my hardness, I was gasping, my body arching off the bed. That's it, he encouraged, his voice rough with desire. Let me see you feel good. He touched me with practiced confidence, his hand moving in ways that had me seeing stars. And when his mouth replaced his hand, I nearly came apart completely. Ji-sung, I gasped, my fingers tangling in his hair. I can't, it's too much. You can, he assured me between licks. Come for me, Ha-jun. Let go. And I did, my first orgasm at another person's hands shattering through me like lightning, leaving me trembling and breathless. He kissed his way back up my body, wiping his mouth with a satisfied smile. Beautiful, he murmured. So fucking beautiful when you come. Your turn, I said shakily, reaching for him. Not yet. He caught my hand, bringing it to his lips. Tonight is about you. About preparing you. He produced supplies from somewhere, lubricant, which he warmed between his hands before touching me in places no one ever had. One finger, then two, then three, stretching me slowly, carefully, while he murmured endearments and checked constantly that I was okay. It was strange, uncomfortable at first, but his free hand kept touching me, stroking me back to hardness, keeping pleasure mixed with the unusual sensations. Ready? He asked finally, positioned between my thighs, his hardness pressing against my entrance. Yes, I breathed. Please. He entered me slowly, so slowly, giving me time to adjust to each inch. The stretch burned, towed the line between pleasure and pain, but his hands were everywhere, his mouth finding mine, his voice a constant stream of praise and reassurance. So tight, he groaned. So perfect. Taking me so well, Ha-jun. You're incredible. When he was finally fully seated inside me, we both stilled, breathing hard. Okay? He asked, sweat beading his forehead from the effort of holding back. Okay, I confirmed. You can move. He did, slowly at first, then with increasing confidence as I adjusted, as pleasure started to overtake discomfort. He found a spot inside me that made me cry out, and he hit it again and again, each thrust driving me higher. Claim me, I gasped, my omega instincts taking over. Please, Ji-sung, I want your mark. Want to be yours. His eyes flashed with possessive heat. Are you sure? This is forever, Ha-jun. Once I mark you, you're mine. No takebacks. I'm sure. I've never been more sure of anything. He leaned down, his mouth finding the junction of my neck and shoulder, the traditional marking spot. His thrusts became more intense, more purposeful as we both approached climax. When he bit down, his teeth breaking skin, pain and pleasure exploded through me simultaneously. I came with a cry, my body clenching around him, and felt him follow moments later, his own release filling me as his bite sealed our bond. For a moment, the world went white, our souls connecting in ways I'd never imagined possible. I felt him, his love, his possessiveness, his absolute certainty that I was his and he was mine. When awareness returned, we were tangled together, both breathing hard, his mark throbbing pleasantly on my neck. Mine? He murmured against my skin. Forever mine. Yours? I agreed, tears of joy sliding down my cheeks. Forever yours. We made love twice more that night, slower the second time, almost lazy the third, learning each other's bodies, cementing our bond. By the time we finally collapsed into sleep, dawn was breaking outside my window, and my small bed had never felt so full, so right. The next few weeks were blissful. Ji-sung had essentially moved into my tiny apartment, bringing with him expensive clothes that looked ridiculous hanging in my closet and toiletries that cost more than my monthly rent. You know you have a penthouse, right? I teased one morning watching him try to navigate my miniature kitchen. Yes, but you're here, he said simply as if that explained everything. Besides, I like it. It feels like a real home. His words warmed me even as they raised questions. Your place doesn't feel like home? It's just a building. Expensive, impressive, but empty. He wrapped his arms around me from behind, nuzzling into my neck where his mark sat. This is home. Wherever you are. But reality had a way of intruding on happiness. The first incident happened at work. I'd returned to the bookstore, my mark carefully covered with makeup and scarves, but one of my co-workers, an alpha named Min-ho who'd always been friendly, cornered me in the stockroom. Is it true? He demanded. Are you mated to Ji-sung? The Ji-sung. Word had apparently gotten out. Someone had seen us together, recognized him, and posted about it online. The gossip sites were having a field day, Korea's youngest billionaire slumming with middle-aged Omega. It's true, I said quietly, chin raised despite my anxiety. Min-ho's expression twisted. He's using you, Hyung. Can't you see that? He's bored, playing with someone beneath him, and when he gets tired, he'll throw you away. Each word was a knife, finding soft spots I tried to armor. You don't know him, I said, but my voice lacked conviction. Neither do you, apparently. He's 15 years younger than you. He could have anyone. Models, celebrities, young beautiful Omegas, and you think he actually wants you? Wake up. I left work early that day, Min-ho's words echoing in my head. When Ji-sung came home that evening, he found me curled on the bed, staring at nothing. Ha-jun. Alarm filled his voice. He was beside me instantly, gathering me into his arms. What's wrong? What happened? I told him everything, my voice small and broken. His expression turned murderous. Give me his name. Ji-sung, no. Give me his name, he repeated, each word hard as stone. No one talks to you like that. No one makes you doubt us. Firing him won't change what he said. I touched his face, trying to soothe him. He's right about some things. You're younger. You could have anyone. Sometimes I wonder why you chose me. Because I love you. He cupped my face in both hands, forcing me to meet his eyes. Because you're kind and good and beautiful. Because you see me, not my money or my reputation. Because my Omega instincts knew you were mine the moment I saw you. Because I would rather have one day with you than a lifetime with anyone else. But. No buts. He kissed me hard, claiming. You're mine, I'm yours, and anyone who has a problem with that can go to hell. Including your coworker. You can't fire everyone who disagrees with us. A dangerous smile crossed his face. Watch me. The second incident was worse. We were at a restaurant, nothing fancy, just trying to have a normal date, when a woman approached our table. She was young, beautiful, clearly alpha class, and she looked at Ji-sung like he was water in a desert. Mr. Ji, she said, completely ignoring me. I'm Song Yuna. My father owns Daehan Industries. We've been trying to set up a meeting. I'm on a date, Ji-sung said coldly. Contact my office. She finally glanced at me and her expression turned pitying. Oh, I heard the rumors but didn't believe them. You're actually with him? The contempt in her voice was clear. This is Ha-jun, Ji-sung said, his voice dropping to that dangerous tone I'd learned meant trouble. My mate. And you're interrupting our dinner. But he's, she gestured at me vaguely, old enough to be your father. And male. Surely you can't be serious. I've never been more serious about anything. Ji-sung stood, positioning himself between us. And I suggest you leave before I make sure your father's company never does business in Seoul again. She paled. You can't. Try me. The threat was real, absolute. She left, practically running. Ji-sung sat back down, but I could see he was still furious, could feel it through our bond. I'm sorry, I said quietly. Don't. He grabbed my hand across the table. Don't apologize for other people's ignorance. But she's right. She's not. Age is just a number. Gender doesn't matter. None of it matters except how we feel about each other. He raised my hand to his lips. And I feel everything for you, Ha-jun. Everything. That night, he made love to me with an intensity that left us both wrecked, reasserting our bond, reminding me physically what his words declared. I was his and he was mine and nothing else mattered. I realized something was wrong when I couldn't keep breakfast down for 3 days straight. At first, I thought it was stress. The constant scrutiny, the whispered comments, the weight of being with someone like Ji-sung. But when it continued, when my sense started changing in ways that had Ji-sung following me around like a devoted shadow, I began to suspect the truth. Male omegas could get pregnant, though it was rare. And at 40, I'd assumed I was past that possibility. Apparently I was wrong. The pregnancy test I took while Ji-sung was at work showed 2 clear lines. I stared at it for a full 5 minutes, my hands shaking, my mind reeling. Pregnant. I was 40 years old, mated to a 25-year-old alpha, and pregnant with his child. The world was going to eat us alive. When Ji-sung came home that evening, he immediately knew something was different. He inhaled deeply, his eyes widening, and then he was on his knees in front of me, his hands on my stomach. "Ha-jun," he breathed. "Are you?" I nodded, unable to speak. His face transformed with joy so pure it almost hurt to see. "We're having a baby? Really? Really?" My voice cracked. "Ji-sung, I'm so sorry." "Sorry?" He stood, pulling me into his arms. "Why would you be sorry? This is amazing. This is perfect. We're having a baby, Ha-jun. Our baby." "I'm 40, I reminded him. "People already think I'm too old for you. When they find out I'm pregnant, they'll say I trapped you, that I seduced you for your money. Let them say whatever they want." His arms tightened protectively. "I know the truth. I pursued you. I courted you. I marked you. And now we're having a baby together, and I've never been happier about anything in my entire life." Tears streamed down my face. "You're really happy?" "I'm ecstatic." He dropped to his knees again, pressing his face to my still flat stomach. "Hi, baby. This is your alpha father speaking. I already love you so much. You and your omega father are the most precious things in my world." Despite everything, I laughed through my tears, my hand finding his hair. This man, this beautiful, unexpected, fierce man, he was really mine. We were really doing this. "We need to tell your grandparents," he said, looking up at me. "And anyone else important in your life." Fear clenched my stomach. "Your grandparents," I corrected. "They're your family, Ji-sung. They'll never accept this. Never accept me." "Then I'll make them," he said simply, with all the confidence of someone who'd never failed at anything he set his mind to. "They'll love you because I love you and because we're having their great-grandchild. And if they don't, if they can't accept us, then I'll walk away from them without a second thought." "You can't." "I can. I will. You and our baby are my family now, Ha-jun. Everyone else is optional." And he meant it. I could feel it through our bond, his absolute, unwavering certainty that we came first, that he would choose us every single time. Ji-sung's grandparents lived in a traditional hanok in Bukshin, all wood and stone and old money. They'd raised Ji-sung after his parents died, and from what he'd told me, they were as traditional as they came, conservative, status-conscious, and firm believers in proper alpha-omega dynamics. In other words, they were going to hate me. "Stop fidgeting," Ji-sung murmured as we approached the door. He was in a full suit, looking every inch the CEO while I wore the nicest clothes I owned, which suddenly felt cheap and inadequate. "I'm scared," I admitted. "I know." He squeezed my hand. "But I'm here. I've got you." His grandmother answered the door, a tiny woman with steel-gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. She took one look at me, at our joined hands, and her mouth thinned into a disapproving line. "So the rumors are true," she said in crisp, formal Korean. "You've actually mated an omega man old enough to be your father." "Grandmother," Ji-sung said, his voice respectful but firm. "This is Ha-jun, my mate and the love of my life. We're here to tell you some news." His grandfather appeared behind her, tall, stern, radiating alpha authority even in his 70s. "Come in," he said curtly. "We'll discuss this inside." The meeting room they led us to was formal and uncomfortable. I sat beside Ji-sung on the floor cushions, trying to appear calm while my heart hammered against my ribs. "Explain yourself," grandfather demanded, looking at Ji-sung. "What possessed you to mate someone so inappropriate?" "Ha-jun is not inappropriate," Ji-sung replied, his voice deadly calm. "He's kind, intelligent, and makes me happier than I've ever been. I love him. That's all the explanation you need." "He's 40 years old," grandmother said as if I wasn't sitting right there. "What kind of omega waits until 40 to mate? What's wrong with him?" "Nothing is wrong with me," I said, finding my voice. "I simply never found anyone I wanted to spend my life with until I met Ji-sung." "Until you saw his money, you mean?" grandfather interjected coldly. "Do you know how many gold diggers have tried to trap our grandson over the years? I'm not a gold digger." I kept my voice steady despite my anger. "I supported myself for 20 years before I even met Ji-sung. I have my own life, my own job. A bookstore clerk." Grandmother's tone made it sound like something shameful. Hardly appropriate for someone of Ji-sung's stature. "We didn't come here to argue," Ji-sung interrupted, his hand finding mine under the table. We came to tell you that Ha-jun is pregnant. You're going to be great-grandparents. Silence. Complete, terrible silence. Then grandfather exploded. Pregnant? At his age? Do you know how dangerous that is? And the scandal, our family name associated with this inappropriate relationship. Enough. Ji-sung stood, pulling me up with him. I thought you might surprise me. Thought you might choose to be happy for us, to welcome Ha-jun into our family. But I see I was wrong. Ji-sung, grandmother started. No. His voice was ice. You don't get to insult my mate. You don't get to make him feel less than. Ha-jun is my family now. Our baby is my family. If you can't accept that, if you can't treat them with respect, then we don't need to be here. He turned to leave and I followed, my head spinning. Wait, grandfather called. If you walk out that door, you're choosing him over your family. Over your heritage. Ji-sung turned back and his smile was sharp as glass. Yes, I am. Every single time I choose him. And I'd do it again and again without regret. We left. In the car I finally broke down, sobbing against his chest. I'm sorry, I gasped. I'm so sorry. You shouldn't have to choose. There's no choice, he said firmly, holding me close. There's only you. Only us. They'll either come around or they won't, but it doesn't change anything, Ha-jun. You're my world. You and our baby. 3 days later, a messenger arrived at our door. Ji-sung had insisted we move to his penthouse now that I was pregnant. The envelope contained a formal invitation to dinner from his grandparents. It's a trap, I said nervously. Maybe, Ji-sung agreed. Or maybe they've come to their senses. Either way we're going. United front, remember? The second meeting was different. His grandparents were still formal, still reserved, but there was something softer in their eyes when they looked at me. We've had time to think, grandmother said carefully, and to do research. Your reputation in your neighborhood is impeccable, Ha-jun SSI. Your co-workers speak highly of you. You volunteer at shelters on weekends, you help elderly neighbors with groceries, you're a good person. We still don't understand this relationship, grandfather added. The age difference troubles us. But he looked at Ji-sung, something complicated crossing his face. We haven't seen you this happy since before your parents died. And that means something. We want to try, grandmother said softly. For Ji-sung's sake. For our great-grandchild's sake. Can we try? I looked at Ji-sung, who squeezed my hand. Yes, I said quietly. We can try. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't immediate acceptance. But it was a beginning, and sometimes beginnings are enough. The pregnancy progressed, my body changing in ways both beautiful and terrifying. At 5 months I had a small but definite bump. Ji-sung was obsessed with it, constantly touching it, talking to it, reading to our unborn child. You're going to spoil them, I said fondly, watching him press kisses to my stomach. Absolutely, he agreed without shame. They're going to have everything, love, security, 2 parents who adore them. Work became impossible to continue. The morning sickness hadn't been just morning, and the exhaustion was overwhelming. I'd quit the bookstore, though Ji-sung had wanted me to quit months earlier. You should be resting, he'd argued. Let me take care of you. I need to work, I'd insisted. I need to be useful. You're growing our child. That's the most useful thing in the world. Eventually, I'd admitted defeat, spending my days in Ji-sung's penthouse, reading and preparing for the baby. But the outside world wasn't kind. The media had gotten hold of our story and they were vicious. Photos of us together appeared on gossip sites with cruel captions. Online forums debated whether I'd seduced Ji-sung or if he was having a mental breakdown. Some people defended us, but many more didn't. Cradle-robbing Omega should be ashamed. Poor Ji-sung, obviously being manipulated by a gold digger. Imagine being 40 and getting knocked up by a kid half your age. Disgusting. I tried not to read the comments, but they had a way of finding me. Each cruel word was a small wound, adding up to something that felt insurmountable. Ji-sung did his best to shield me, but even he couldn't control everything. When articles appeared questioning my past, making up stories about former lovers and failed relationships, he hired lawyers and sued for defamation. When photographers tried to follow us, he hired security. I'll destroy anyone who hurts you, he vowed, holding me as I cried over a particularly vicious article. Every single person who's contributed to this, I'll ruin them. You can't fight the whole world, I whispered. Watch me. And he tried. God, he tried. But the toll it took on both of us was heavy. The worst came when someone leaked my medical records, including my pregnancy status. Suddenly, the speculation became fact, and the feeding frenzy intensified. 40-year-old Omega pregnant with 25-year-old CEO's baby, Scandal or true love? The articles were invasive, speculating about our sex life, questioning whether the baby was really Ji-sung's, making up stories about other alphas I'd supposedly been with. I stopped leaving the penthouse. Stopped checking my phone. Stopped doing anything except existing in a bubble of anxiety and fear. I'm ruining your life, I told Ji-sung one night, lying in bed while he curved protectively around me and our growing baby. Everything was fine before me. Everything was empty before you, he corrected. I was successful and rich and completely hollow. You filled that hollow place, Ha-jun. You and our baby. Nothing else matters. Your stock prices dropped. I pointed out. The scandal had affected Hanseong Group, shareholders questioning Ji-sung's judgment. They'll recover. And if they don't, I don't care. I have enough money for 10 lifetimes. What I don't have is another you. But I could feel the stress affecting him too. The late nights dealing with business fallout, the constant vigilance protecting me, the weight of defending our relationship to everyone from shareholders to his social circle. Maybe we should take a break, I suggested weakly. Let things cool down. No. His arms tightened around me. Absolutely not. We're bonded, Ha-jun. Mated. Pregnant with our child. There is no taking a break. There's only us together weathering this storm until it passes. What if it doesn't pass? Then we weather it forever. I don't care. I'll never let you go. His certainty should have been comforting. Instead, it terrified me. I was dragging him down, ruining everything he'd built, and he refused to see it. The phone call came at 3 a.m. Ji-sung answered, his voice rough with sleep, then suddenly alert. What? When? Is he? Yes. Yes, I understand. We'll be there immediately. He was out of bed, pulling on clothes. What's wrong? I asked, my heart racing. It's my grandfather. Heart attack. We need to get to the hospital. The drive was silent, terrifying. I knew what this meant. If his grandfather died, if the stress of our relationship had contributed to his condition, I would never forgive myself. At the hospital, we found his grandmother in the waiting room, looking smaller and more fragile than I'd ever seen her. The doctors are with him now, she said quietly. Then looking at me, this is your fault. The stress of your relationship, the scandal, it's killing him. Each word was a knife. Grandmother, don't, Ji-sung started. No. I stepped forward. She's right. If my being with you is causing this, if your grandfather might die because of us. He's not dying, Ji-sung said firmly. And this isn't your fault. Grandfather has had heart problems for years. This isn't about us. But I could see the doubt in his eyes. The fear. The weight of having to choose between his family and me. We waited for 6 hours. Finally, a doctor emerged. He's stable, the doctor announced. It was a mild heart attack. With proper care and less stress, he should recover fully. Relief flooded through me, followed immediately by guilt. Less stress. Which meant less us. Less scandal. Less everything that came with our relationship. Over the following days, as his grandfather recovered, I watched Ji-sung struggle. He visited the hospital daily, trying to be there for his family while also taking care of me and our baby. You're exhausted, I said one evening, noting the dark circles under his eyes. I'm fine. You're not. And it's because of me. Ha-jun. Maybe we should separate, I said, forcing the words out even though they tore me apart. Not permanently. Just until after the baby is born. Give your family time to adjust. Give the media time to move on to other stories. No. His voice was hard, final. We're not separating. We're not taking a break. We're staying together because that's what mates do. But your grandfather is recovering. And when he's better, he'll understand that you're not going anywhere. That our family includes you and our baby, and he can either accept that or not, but it doesn't change our reality. I'm destroying your life, I whispered, tears streaming down my face. Everything you built, your family relationships, your reputation, are all meaningless without you. He cupped my face in his hands, forcing me to meet his eyes. Do you understand? Without you, I'm just a rich, empty shell going through motions. You gave me purpose. Well, a family. I would give up everything else 1,000 times over before I'd give up you. Ji-sung. I love you. I love our baby. And I will fight every single day to keep us together. So stop trying to leave me, Ha-jun. Stop trying to sacrifice yourself for some misguided idea of what's best for me. The best thing for me is you. Only you. Always you. He kissed me then, deep and claiming, and I felt our bond pulse with his certainty, his love, his absolute unwillingness to let me go. Okay, I breathed against his lips. Okay. We stay together. Forever, he confirmed. No matter what. A week later, his grandfather was released from the hospital. We visited him at the Hannock, expecting tension, expecting more arguments. Instead, he looked at me with tired but kind eyes. I've been thinking, he said slowly, about family, about what it means, about what my son did to his wife, to Ji-sung, by putting pride and control over love. He reached out, taking my hand in his weathered one. I don't understand your relationship, he admitted. The age difference still troubles me. But I see how Ji-sung looks at you, how you look at him. And I remember looking at my wife that way once, before life and responsibility made me forget. Tears pricked my eyes. I'm sorry, he continued, for my harsh words, for making you feel unwelcome. You've made my grandson happy. You're giving us a great grandchild. That should have been enough from the beginning. We would like to try again, grandmother added, standing beside him, to be a real family. If you'll let us. I looked at Ji-sung, who nodded encouragingly. I'd like that, I said softly. Very much. It wasn't perfect. There were still awkward moments, still adjustments to be made. But it was real, and it was a beginning, and sometimes that's all you need. The baby arrived on a snowy February morning, 3 weeks early and utterly perfect. Labor was long and difficult, 17 hours of pain that had Ji-sung pacing like a caged animal, snapping at nurses and demanding the best care for me. His alpha instincts were in overdrive, protective to the point of aggression. Sir, you need to calm down, one doctor said firmly. You're not helping. My omega is in pain, Ji-sung snarled. Fix it. That's not how childbirth works. Ji-sung, I gasped between contractions. It's okay. I'm okay. He was at my side immediately, his hand finding mine. I'm sorry. Seeing you hurt is part of the process. I managed a weak smile. Stay with me. That's what I need. He did, holding my hand through every contraction, whispering encouragement, being exactly what I needed him to be. When our daughter finally arrived, screaming and healthy, Ji-sung cried. She's perfect, he breathed, watching the nurses clean her. Ha-jun, look at her. She's perfect. They placed her in my arms, and my world realigned around this tiny person. She had Ji-sung's nose, my eyes, and a full head of dark hair. Hi, baby girl, I whispered. We're your fathers, and we love you so much. Ji-sung pressed his forehead to mine, his hand covering where I held our daughter. Thank you, he said, his voice thick with emotion. Thank you for her. For us. For everything. We named her Jia. It meant wisdom and beauty, and she was both. The media response to her birth was mixed. Some outlets were positive, celebrating our growing family. Others were cruel, making jokes about our ages, questioning whether fatherhood would make Ji-sung grow up. But Ji-sung had meant what he said, he didn't care. His world had narrowed to the three of us, and everything else was just noise. Watching him with Jia was transformative. This man who the business world feared, who had a reputation for being cold and ruthless, melted completely around our daughter. He changed diapers, did midnight feedings, sang lullabies in his deep voice that made her stop crying instantly. You're a natural, I said one night, watching him rock her to sleep. I never thought I'd have this, he admitted softly. A family. Well, happiness. I thought I was too damaged, too much like my father. You're nothing like him, I said firmly. You're gentle and kind and patient. You're an amazing father. Because I have an amazing partner. He looked at me, love shining in his eyes. You taught me how to be this, Ha-jun. How to be soft. How to love. You always knew. You just needed the right person to love. And I found them. He pressed a kiss to Jia's forehead, then crossed the room to kiss me. I found you both. His grandparents surprised us by being wonderful with Jia. Whatever reservations they'd had about our relationship melted away the first time they held their great-granddaughter. She has your mother's eyes, grandfather told Ji-sung, tears in his own. My daughter would have loved her. And she has her Omega father's kindness, grandmother added, smiling at me. We can already see it. They visited regularly, helping with baby care, bringing traditional gifts and modern necessities. Slowly, carefully, we built the family structure Jia deserved. Imperfect but loving, complicated but real. The bookstore where I used to work sent flowers. My old co-workers, including Min-ho, sent a card apologizing for their previous words. The owner offered me my job back whenever I was ready, with better pay and flexible hours. You don't need to work, Ji-sung reminded me. I know. But maybe someday I'll want to. It's nice to have the option. Life settled into a new rhythm. Late nights with a crying baby, early mornings filled with baby giggles, the constant exhaustion paired with overwhelming joy. Ji-sung managed to balance work and family, often bringing business home so he could be with us, conducting video conferences while holding Jia. Mr. G, is that a baby? A surprised executive asked during one such call. Yes, Ji-sung said simply, not offering any explanation. Now about the quarterly reports. The business world slowly adjusted. Those who couldn't accept his personal life found themselves working elsewhere. Those who stayed learned to respect that Ji-sung's family came first, always. Jia's first birthday party was a huge affair. Ji-sung had wanted to rent out an entire venue, but I'd insisted on something more intimate. Just family and close friends in our penthouse. You spoil her, I teased, watching him set up an elaborate candy station. She deserves to be spoiled. She's perfect. She's one. She won't remember this. But we will. He pulled me close, his arms wrapping around my waist. Every moment with you two I want to remember forever. The party was beautiful. Jia in a tiny hanbok that grandmother had made charmed everyone. She was walking now, toddling around on unsteady legs, and had started saying her first words, Appa for Ji-sung and Papa for me. Watching her with her great-grandparents, seeing the love and acceptance in everyone's eyes, I felt something settle in my chest. This was real. This was ours. We'd made it through the storms. That night, after Jia was asleep and the guests had gone home, Ji-sung and I stood on the balcony overlooking Seoul. Do you remember when we met? He asked, pulling me against his chest. You mean when you hit me with your car? I teased. Best accident of my life. He nuzzled into my neck, finding his mark. I was so lost back then. Successful but empty. And then there you were, this beautiful Omega who forgave me without hesitation, who saw past everything I was to who I wanted to be. I was terrified, I admitted. Of you, of what you made me feel, of opening my heart after 40 years of keeping it closed. Are you still terrified? Sometimes. I turned in his arms to face him. I'm terrified something will happen to you, to Jia, to this perfect life we've built. I'm terrified I'll wake up and it'll all be a dream. It's not a dream. He kissed me softly. It's real. We're real. And I promise you, Ha-jun, I will spend every day of the rest of my life making sure you never doubt that. I love you, I whispered. So much it scares me. I love you more. He grinned. Want to fight about it? I laughed, the sound free and genuine. No. I just want to be with you. Forever. Forever. 2 years later, we welcomed another baby, a boy we named Min-jun. Ji-sung cried again, holding his son with the same wonder he'd shown with Jia. 2 miracles, he breathed. You've given me 2 miracles, Ha-jun. We made them together, I corrected, though my heart was full to bursting. Life with 2 children was chaotic, exhausting, and absolutely perfect. Jia was a protective older sister, always trying to help with her baby brother. Ji-sung somehow managed to balance his CEO responsibilities with being present for every important moment. First steps, first words, midnight feedings. The media attention never fully went away, but it changed. We became less a scandal and more a curiosity, then eventually just another family. Articles appeared praising Ji-sung's work-life balance, interviewing me about parenting, celebrating our unusual but clearly loving relationship. On our 5th anniversary, 5 years since that fateful car accident, Ji-sung surprised me with a vow renewal ceremony. Nothing huge, just family and close friends, but deeply meaningful. 5 years ago, I hit you with my car, he said, making everyone laugh. And it was the best mistake I ever made. You've given me everything, Ha-jun. Love, family, purpose, happiness. You took a cold, empty man and taught him how to feel. How to live. He slid a new ring onto my finger, white gold with a single diamond. I promise to love you forever. To choose you every day. To be the alpha you and our children deserve. To grow old with you and never regret a single moment. I was crying and I didn't care who saw. 5 years ago, I thought my life was over, I said, my voice shaking. I was 40 alone, convinced I'd missed my chance at love. And then you crashed into me, literally, and everything changed. I touched his face, feeling the familiar spark of our bond. You taught me that it's never too late. That love doesn't care about age or circumstance or what other people think. You gave me a family, a purpose, a reason to believe in happiness again. And I promise to love you for all the years we have left. To be your partner, your Omega, your best friend. To raise our children together and build a life that's messy and complicated and absolutely perfect. When we kissed, sealing our renewed vows, our children cheered. Jia, now 5, and Min-jun nearly 3, both beautiful and happy in ours. 10 years after that first meeting, I was 50 and Ji-sung was 35. We'd weathered scandals, family drama, media attention, and all the normal chaos of raising children. Jia was now 12, sharp and brilliant, already showing signs of being an alpha like her father. Min-jun was 10, gentle and creative, clearly an Omega like me. They were best friends, constantly together, and watching them made my heart full. Do you ever regret it? I asked Ji-sung one quiet evening after the kids were in bed. The age difference, the scandal, everything you went through for us? He looked at me like I was insane. Not for a single second. Ha-jun, you're my everything. You and our kids, you're the only thing that matters. I'm getting old, I said, touching the gray that was starting to show in my hair. Eventually, people will think you're with your father. Let them think whatever they want. He pulled me onto his lap, holding me close. I fell in love with your soul, not your age. And that soul is just as beautiful now as it was years ago. More beautiful actually because I know it better. You're ridiculous. I'm in love. He kissed my neck, finding his mark. There's a difference. That night, we made love with the comfortable intimacy of long-term partners who knew each other's bodies perfectly. It was different from those early desperate couplings. Slower, deeper, filled with inside jokes and whispered endearments and the certainty that came from years together. Afterward, lying tangled together, Ji-sung traced patterns on my skin. What are you thinking? I asked. That I'm the luckiest alpha alive. That I get to grow old with you. That our kids are amazing. That I wouldn't change a single thing about our life. Not even the beginning? The accident, the scandal? Especially not that. He kissed my forehead. Because it led us here. To this moment, this life, this family. Every hard moment was worth it to have this. And lying there in his arms, our children sleeping peacefully down the hall, our bond pulsing with love and contentment, I had to agree. Every moment, the pain, the fear, the doubt, all of it had been worth it to find this. To find him. To find us. The children are with Ji-sung's grandparents for the weekend, a rare occurrence that fills me with both relief and a hint of guilt. Jia had been so excited to spend time with her great-grandparents, and little Minjun had babbled happily the entire car ride there. Still, as the penthouse door closed behind us, leaving Ji-sung and me completely alone for the first time in months, I felt something shift in the air between us. Finally, Ji-sung breathes, his arms wrapping around my waist from behind as I stand at the kitchen counter, ostensibly making tea. Do you know how long it's been since we've had the apartment to ourselves? I lean back into his embrace, feeling the solid warmth of his body against mine. At 45 now, my body has changed, softer around the middle from 2 pregnancies, more lines around my eyes, the permanent exhaustion that comes with being a parent of young children. But the way Ji-sung holds me, the way his hands slide possessively over my stomach, makes me feel as desirable as I did that first night we made love. 3 months, I answer, turning in his arms to face him. Since your grandmother took them for that afternoon. Too long. His voice drops to that low rumble that always makes my omega instincts sit up and take notice. At 30, he's somehow become even more handsome. His features sharper, more defined, the boyishness completely gone and replaced by a devastating masculine beauty that still takes my breath away. He's looking at me with such intensity that I feel heat bloom in my cheeks. What? I ask softly. Just remembering, he murmurs, his hand coming up to cup my face. That first time I saw you in the hospital. How beautiful you were even injured. How something in me just knew. Knew what? That you were mine. That I'd do whatever it took to keep you. His thumb traces my bottom lip. I was terrified, you know. That you'd reject me. That the age difference would be too much. That you'd see me as just a kid playing at being an alpha. I cover his hand with mine, pressing a kiss to his palm. I never saw you as a kid. You are, the most incredible alpha I've ever known. Strong and protective and so impossibly gentle with me. Only with you. He leans in, his forehead touching mine. The rest of the world gets the tyrant. You get everything else. Everything real. When he kisses me, it starts soft, a gentle press of lips, familiar and comfortable after years together. But then his hand tangles in my hair, angling my head back, and the kiss deepens into something more demanding, more claiming. My body responds instantly, heat pooling low in my belly, my omega instincts purring with satisfaction at having my alpha's attention. Even after all this time, after 2 children and countless nights together, he can still make me feel like I'm burning from the inside out. Bedroom, he growls against my mouth and I nod breathlessly. He doesn't let me walk. Instead, he lifts me, something that should be embarrassing given my age and the extra weight I carry now, but his strength makes it seem effortless. I wrap my legs around his waist, my arms around his neck, and let him carry me down the hall to our bedroom. The afternoon sun streams through the floor-to-ceiling windows, bathing everything in golden light. Ji-sung lays me on our bed with a gentleness that contrasts with the fierce hunger in his eyes. I want to take my time with you, he says, kneeling beside the bed and starting to unbutton my shirt with deliberate slowness. Want to worship every inch of you. Show you how perfect you are. Ji-sung, my voice comes out shaky. Shoo. He presses a finger to my lips. Let me love you, Ha-jun. The way you deserve. He removes my clothes piece by piece, pressing kisses to each bit of exposed skin. When my shirt falls away, revealing the stretch marks that map my stomach from carrying our children, I instinctively try to cover them. I've never been entirely comfortable with these changes to my body, these visible reminders that I'm not young anymore. But Ji-sung catches my hands, pinning them gently above my head. Don't, he says firmly. These are beautiful. They're proof that you carried our babies. That you gave me the greatest gifts of my life. He leans down, kissing along each silvery line. I love every single one. Tears prick my eyes at the sincerity in his voice. How do you always know what to say? Because I mean it. He continues his exploration, removing my pants and underwear until I'm completely bare before him. Every word. You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, Ha-jun. More beautiful now than the day we met. He stands then, and I watch through heavy-lidded eyes as he strips off his own clothes. His body is a work of art, lean muscle and smooth skin, the body of an alpha in his prime. Seeing him like this still makes my mouth go dry, still makes me wonder how someone like him could possibly want someone like me. But then he's back on the bed, covering my body with his, and the heat of skin-on-skin contact drives every insecure thought from my mind. I can feel you overthinking, he murmurs against my neck, finding the mark he left there years ago and sucking gently. The sensation shoots straight through me, making me gasp. Stop it. Just feel, Ha-jun. Feel how much I want you. His hardness presses against my hip, impossible to ignore, and I reach down to wrap my hand around him. He's thick and hot in my palm, already leaking at the tip, and the low groan that escapes him makes me feel powerful despite everything. Ha-jun, he warns, his hips bucking into my touch. If you keep doing that. What? I ask innocently, stroking him slowly. You said you wanted to take your time. You're playing with fire, Omega. But there's heat and affection in his voice, and he lets me touch him for a few more moments before catching my wrist. My turn. His hand trails down my body, fingers ghosting over sensitive skin until he reaches between my legs. I'm already slick, an Omega's natural response to their alpha's desire, and he groans when he feels it. So wet for me already, he breathes, circling my entrance teasingly. Your body knows what it wants, doesn't it? I can't form words, can only nod as he slides one finger inside me. The stretch is familiar but still intense after months of only quick, quiet encounters stolen between parenting duties. He moves slowly, carefully, watching my face for any sign of discomfort. Okay, he asks softly. More? I manage. Please, Ji-sung. More. He adds a second finger, then a third, scissoring them to stretch me open while his thumb finds that sensitive bundle of nerves that makes me see stars. I'm writhing beneath him now, my hands fisting in the sheets, desperate for more but also wanting this to last forever. Look at you, he murmurs, his voice rough with desire. So perfect like this. Taking my fingers so well. I love watching you fall apart for me, Ha-jun. Love knowing I'm the only one who gets to see you like this. Only you, I gasp. Always only you. That's right. He curls his fingers, hitting that spot inside me that makes my back arch off the bed. My Omega. My mate. My everything. The possessiveness in his voice, the certainty drives me higher. My body is wound so tight I feel like I might shatter, and when he adds a fourth finger, stretching me impossibly wide, I cry out. Ji-sung, please, I know what you need. He withdraws his fingers and I whimper at the loss. But then he's positioning himself at my entrance, the blunt head of his hardness pressing against me. Need me to claim you. To remind you who you belong to. Yes, I breathe. Please, Alpha. Claim me. The title makes his eyes flash with primal satisfaction, and then he's pushing inside, slow and inexorable, stretching me in ways his fingers couldn't. The burn is intense. I'm not as young as I used to be, my body doesn't adjust as quickly, but underneath it is pure pleasure. Ji-sung pauses when he's halfway in, his jaw clenched with the effort of holding back. Breathe, love, he instructs, one hand coming to rest on my chest, feeling my heartbeat. Relax for me. Let me in. I focus on breathing, on relaxing muscles that want to tense, and gradually he sinks deeper. When he's finally fully seated inside me, we both groan at the sensation. He's so deep like this, touching places that make me feel claimed in the most primal way. Okay? He asks again, though I can see the strain in his face, the desperate need to move. Perfect, I assure him, wrapping my legs around his waist. You're perfect. This is perfect. He starts to move then, slow deep thrusts that light up every nerve ending. One hand grips my hip hard enough to bruise, marks I'll wear proudly tomorrow, while the other tangles with mine, our fingers lacing together. I love you, he says with each thrust, punctuating the words with his body. Love you so much, Hajun. Love everything about you. Your kindness. Your strength. The way you love our children. The way you love me. I can't respond with words, can only hold on as he picks up the pace, his hips snapping against mine with increasing urgency. The angle has him hitting that perfect spot inside me with every thrust, and I feel myself climbing toward climax embarrassingly fast. That's it, he encourages, his hand moving between us to wrap around my neglected hardness. Come for me, Omega. Show me how good I make you feel. The dual stimulation is too much. My orgasm crashes over me like a wave, intense and overwhelming, my body clenching around him as I cry out his name. Distantly, I'm aware of him groaning, his rhythm faltering as my body milks him, and then he's following me over the edge, spilling inside me with a guttural moan. But he doesn't stop. Even as aftershocks roll through me, he continues moving, drawing out my pleasure until I'm oversensitized and gasping. Too much, I whimper. Not enough. His voice is rough, almost feral. Never enough. Want to stay inside you forever. Want to keep claiming you until there's no doubt you're mine. He shifts our positions without pulling out, rolling so I'm on top of him. The new angle makes him feel impossibly deeper, and I gasp at the sensation. Ride me, he commands, his hands on my hips guiding me into motion. Show me how much you want this. Want me. I'm exhausted, oversensitive, but my body responds to his alpha command. I start to move, rising and falling on his length, setting a pace that has both of us groaning. His hands roam my body, my thighs, my stomach, my chest, touching everywhere he can reach. So beautiful, he breathes, his eyes locked on where we're joined. Love watching you take me like this. Love how your body accepts me. Like you were made for me. Was made for you, I manage between gasps. Only ever for you, Ji-sung. The words make him growl, and suddenly he's sitting up, pulling me flush against his chest, his arms wrapping around me as he takes control of the rhythm again. Like this, pressed together completely, I can feel every shudder that runs through him, every racing beat of his heart. Mine, he growls against my neck, his teeth scraping over his mark. Say it. Yours, I gasp. Always yours. His teeth sink into the mark, not breaking skin but applying enough pressure to send electric pleasure pain through my entire body. I come again, unexpected and intense, my vision whiting out as my body locks up around him. This time when he follows, I feel his knot beginning to swell, locking us together. It's been months since we've had time for a full mating. Knotting takes time, requires privacy we rarely have with young children. But now, feeling him expand inside me, binding us together in the most intimate way possible, I feel complete. We collapse back onto the bed, still joined, both breathing hard. Ji-sung arranges us carefully on our sides, his arms protectively around me, his knot ensuring we'll stay like this for at least the next half hour. I love you, he murmurs, pressing kisses to my shoulder, my neck, anywhere he can reach. Love you so much it scares me sometimes. I know the feeling, I admit, my hand finding his and squeezing. Every day I wake up and wonder how I got so lucky. How someone like you could love someone like me. Ha-jun. Let me finish. I turn my head as much as I can to meet his eyes. I spent 40 years thinking I'd missed my chance at happiness. That I was too old, too set in my ways, too much of everything wrong and not enough of anything right. And then you crashed into my life, literally, and changed everything. Tears are sliding down my cheeks now, but they're good tears. You made me believe in love. In family. In the possibility of happiness I thought I'd never have. You gave me our beautiful children. You fight for us every single day against a world that doesn't always understand. And you make me feel cherished and wanted, Anne. He kisses me, cutting off my words, and I taste salt from both our tears. You are cherished, he says fiercely when we part. You are wanted. You're my whole world, Hajun. My Omega, my mate, my love, my everything. There is nothing I wouldn't do for you. I know, I whisper. I feel it every day. Through our bond, through your actions, through moments like this. We lie like that, connected in every possible way as the afternoon sun shifts across our bedroom. Eventually, his knot subsides enough for him to carefully withdraw, and we both wince at the sensitivity. Stay here, he instructs, kissing my forehead before getting up. He returns moments later with a warm cloth, cleaning us both with gentle thoroughness. It's such a domestic, caring gesture that it makes my heart ache with love. When he's done, he climbs back into bed, pulling me against his chest. I can feel his release slowly dripping out of me, a reminder of our connection, of what we just shared, and normally I get up to shower. But right now, wrapped in my alpha's arms, I can't bring myself to move. What are you thinking? Ji-sung asks, his fingers tracing idle patterns on my arm. That I'm the luckiest Omega in the world, I answer honestly. That I have everything I never knew I needed. That I love you more than I thought it was possible to love anyone. The feeling is entirely mutual. He tilts my chin up, kissing me softly. You know what I was thinking during that board meeting yesterday? What? That I couldn't wait to get home to you. That I'd rather be here making love to my Omega than anywhere else in the world. That every success, every achievement means nothing if I can't share it with you. You're such a romantic, I tease, though my heart is full. Only for you. He grins. Everyone else gets the ice prince. You get the man who writes terrible poetry about your smile and keeps photos of you on his phone and brags about you to anyone who'll listen. You do not write poetry about me. Want to bet? He reaches for his phone on the nightside table and I laugh, trying to stop him. Don't you dare. But he's already pulling up his notes app, and sure enough, there are pages of what can only be described as love poetry. Some of it is actually quite beautiful, though I'd never tell him that. See. He shows me a recent entry. Your smile is dawn breaking after endless night, your touch is home after years of wandering, your love is every answer to questions I didn't know to ask. My eyes fill with tears again. Ji-sung. I mean every word. He sets the phone aside, gathering me close again. You're my dawn, my home, my answer to everything. And I will spend every day for the rest of our lives making sure you know that. I kiss him then, deep and slow and full of every emotion I can't put into words. When we finally part, we're both smiling. The kids won't be back until tomorrow, I point out. What should we do with all this time? His eyes darken with renewed desire. I have a few ideas. Already? I laugh, even as my body responds to the hunger in his voice. Ji-sung, we just... And we're going to again, he promises, already kissing down my neck. And again. And again. We have 16 hours of uninterrupted time, Ha-jun. I intend to make the most of every single moment. And he does. We make love twice more before dinner. Once in the shower, Ji-sung taking me against the tile wall with water streaming over us, and once on the living room couch, me bent over the armrest while he claims me from behind, his hands possessive on my hips. After a late dinner that we eat wrapped in robes on the balcony, watching the city lights twinkle below, we end up back in bed. This time it's slower, gentler, a reaffirmation rather than a claiming. We explore each other with the knowledge of longtime lovers, knowing exactly what touches make the other gasp, what pace drives the other wild. When we finally fall asleep, tangled together as always, I feel more content than I can ever remember being. My body aches pleasantly, marked inside and out by my alpha's possession. My heart is full to bursting with love for this man who chose me against all logic and reason. As I drift off, I feel Ji-sung press one more kiss to my hair. Thank you, he whispers, probably thinking I'm already asleep. For being mine. For giving me this life. For loving me despite everything. You're my miracle, Ha-jun. My impossible, perfect miracle. I squeeze his hand, letting him know I heard. Because he's my miracle too. At 41 and 26, we're still defying expectations, still proving that love doesn't follow rules about age or circumstance. We're still building our family, still growing together, still choosing each other every single day. And I wouldn't change a single moment of it. Not the fear, not the doubt, not the struggle. Because it all led here, to this bed, this alpha, this life. To home.